All right, let's go ahead and move into the real meat of Chapter 5. We're going to work on Section 5.1 through 5.3 today. They're kind of connected, and it's all about solving inequalities, and we're really good at solving equations, so these three sections are pretty simple. So just as a quick review, let's make sure that we know what the four types of inequalities are. So hopefully you remember that we've got greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and we always read from the variable. Okay, we always read from the variable. So this is x is greater than or equal to -2, which means I'm talking about numbers -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, etc., because they're getting bigger. Okay, they're getting bigger. And I also need to just do a quick little review on graphing. Remember, we have open circles and we have closed circles. So greater than is going to be to the right and less than is going to be to the left. Okay, because as we solve our inequalities, we're also going to be graphing the solutions on a number line. Okay, graphing the solutions on a number line. So we always have to remember that open and closed graphing. Okay, all right, now let's go ahead and look at some problems. So when we are solving equations and when we're solving inequalities, there really is very little difference. Okay, there's very little difference. There's only one thing that changes, and that is when the coefficient on the x is negative. So we'll get to that in a second. Let's look at type 1, which is when the coefficient on the x is positive. This solves exactly like an equation. So I know I'm going to subtract my 5, and 2x is less than -12, and I know I'm going to divide by my 2. Okay, so x is less than -6. So here's my number line. Here's 0, here's -6, and when I graph and I'm drawing my own number line, I always have to put 0 on there. Okay, and -6, or the number, needs to be put either to the left or the right of 0, and then I'm going to just graph it. I know this is less than, so since I know it's less, it's going to be an open circle. So I have an open circle at -6, and I'm going to the left. Okay, and what that means is my solutions would be here. Okay, would be there. Notice I didn't highlight -6 because -6 is not a solution because it is not less than -6. All right, now let's look at what is the one thing that changes. Okay, the one thing that changes. So this process is still the same. I'm subtracting my 5, so -2x less than, that's going to give me 16. Now here's where the difference come in. If I multiply or divide by a negative number, okay, so if this is negative, if I multiply or divide by a negative number, this has to flip. Okay, the inequality has got to flip. So I come up with x is greater than -8. Okay, x is greater than -8. So the sign flips. Okay, sign flips. And that only happens when I multiply or divide by a negative. So here's 0, here's -8. I am an open circle to the right. And this time, my solutions are to the right because it was greater than. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Why don't you go ahead and start solving these guys. Let's see what you can do with these, and watch for that negative in that last step. I will catch up with you in just a second. So go ahead and hit pause, and we'll go from there. All right, let's see how we do here. So we've got, if I distribute first, I have 9x minus 6 less than or equal to 6. If I move my 6, I have 9x less than or equal to 12. So x is going to be less than or equal to 12 over 9. Now I know that that is not in simplest terms. Okay, that is not in simplest terms. So I need to simplify that fraction. So I come up with x is less than or equal to 4 over 3 because I'm dividing by 3 on both of those. So here's 0. Well, what is 4/3? 4/3 is 1.3. Okay, so I can put 4/3 on there, or I can put 1.3 on there. And It is a closed circle this time, and I know I'm going to the right. And if I was to have to highlight my solutions, I'm highlighting and including the 4/3 because it is equal to. All right, let's see what we did on this next one. So 12t minus 20 plus 7 greater than or equal to 8t plus 3. Now remember, when we solve equations, we want to have 2 and 2. So let's go ahead and simplify down so till we have that. So I see that these two are like terms. So 12t minus 13 greater than or equal to 8t plus 3. So I need to move my 8t. So that's going to give me 4t minus 13 greater than or equal to 3. Then I have to move my negative 13. So 4t is greater than or equal to 16. I'm dividing by 4. Notice these are positive, so I'm not flipping any signs. So t is greater than or equal to 4. Okay? So here's 0. Here's 4. It is a closed circle to the right. Closed circle to the right. And if I was highlighting solutions, I would be highlighting the 4 and to the right. Okay, let's make sure that we are good with reading from the variable, deciding on whether or not these are open or closed circles. I'm sure we're excellent at this, but let's just double check. So if it's pointing to the right, I know that is an open circle, so I'm at the 4. So that's going to be here. So my solutions are there. Notice I did not highlight the 4. Okay, now this one is backwards. Okay, now I don't read this 4 greater than x. I read from the variable. So this is actually x less than 4. Okay, x is less than 4. So I'm at 4, open circle to the left. And there is my solution set. Okay, there's my solution set. So remember to always read from that variable. So x, here's 3, closed circle to the left, and this one is going to be x is greater or equal to negative 5. So I am negative 5, closed circle to the right because that is greater and equal to. Okay, greater or equal to. So my solutions on this one would be heading this way, and my solutions on the purple one would be heading that way. All right, now let's see if we can do this one. And this is one of them that's going to have that negative show up. Okay, so take a minute, see if you can solve this one. Remember, when you multiply or divide by a negative, the sign flips. So this is going to be one where the sign flips. Okay, let's see how you did. So when I distribute, I have negative 6y plus 15 less than or equal to negative 15. So if I move my negative 15, negative 6y less than or equal to negative 30. So here I am dividing by a negative, okay? Dividing by a negative. So that means this has got to flip. So y greater than or equal to 5. So closed circle to the right. Closed circle to the right, and I'm talking about these being solutions. Okay, 2 more. Let's just do 2 more. Make sure you're good. Hit pause. Make sure you combine like terms. These are the most advanced type inequalities that we would see with lots of different variables and operations before you can actually solve. So distribute, combine like terms, solve it down, watch for those negatives, and then go ahead and graph them, and I will catch up with you. All right. So 18 minus 24c minus 12, greater than or equal to negative 24c plus 6. All right, now, these two are like terms. So negative 24c plus 6, greater than or equal to negative 24c plus 6. Well, this is really interesting. It looks to me like these are exactly the same. So if I keep going here and add my 24c, notice how these go away, okay? And if you remember, this gave us, when we had 0x or 0y, we either had all real numbers for infinitely many, or we had no solution. Okay, so that triggered one of those special case scenarios. Well, let's look at what we got here. 6 greater than or equal to 6. Okay, 6 is greater than or equal to 6. Is this true or is this false? Is 6 greater than or equal to 6? Since it has the equal to, that is actually true. Okay, so since it is true, that is going to be an infinitely many or all real numbers. So what I'm actually looking at, if I tried to graph that, so here's 0. I'm actually going to close circle at 0, and I'm going to go to the left, and I'm going to go to the right, because the solution is all numbers. Okay, this is an infinitely many, which means everything works. All right, now let's look at this one. So 9x minus 5x plus 25 greater than 4x minus 12. And simplifying again, 4x plus 25 less than 4x minus 12. Notice how you have these 4x's. So if I take away the 4x's, I'm going to be left with 25 less than negative 12. Is that true or is that false? Okay, is 25 actually less than 12? No, that is false. Okay, so since it is false, it is a no solution. So is it going to have a graph? No, there is no graph if it is no solution, okay, because nothing's going to work there. There's no numbers that work if there's no solution. So those are our two special case scenarios. Remember that when you're solving inequalities, the only difference between solving inequalities and equations is just when you multiply or divide by a negative number, that sign has to flip. Other than that, you're great at solving equations, so I'm sure that this assignment is going to be a piece of cake. So go ahead and do some practice, and then we'll move on to make it a little bit more challenging.